Hey, what's up, Racing World? I'm Justin with NRN, the Noble Racing Network, and it's time for the weekly pit stop. And of course, we're going to start with Kevin Harvick. I'm sure you've heard about this already. If you haven't, I don't know where you've been, but obviously this is the first big news of the racing season. Harvick has clearly been the front runner. He has won 2 of the first 3 races in the season. And it's not that he just won 2 races in a row. It's not that at all. It's the manner in which he has done it. He has straight up put a beating on the field in both of the races. It hasn't even been close. And he has had a car that has literally been miles ahead of everyone else. Well, NASCAR, for some reason, decided to tear down his car at the R&D Center after the Vegas race. And they found 2 things they didn't like. They found 2 violations, and one of those no-nos had to do with the rear window support. Now, what we're calling Windowgate, these pictures started circulating on social media, I'd say about Tuesday. And in fact, Chase Elliott actually noticed it during the race on Sunday and reported it to his crew. But Mike McAteer, who's a contributor for NRN, he showed me these pictures on Tuesday, and you can clearly see that under speed, that right rear window was uneven and even dipping down just a smidge. And you have to wonder, has this been what's given Kevin Harvick the advantage? Perhaps the air traveling over the right rear window in such a manner was giving him more downforce. And that could possibly, more downforce on the rear spoiler of the car, as you know, could make the car more stable going into the corners. Which means that if he's more stable, he can drive it in a little harder, he can get to the gas a little quicker. If he's more stable, thus giving him an advantage over the field. Perhaps this is what they figured out to give him that aero advantage. There was also a problem with the side skirts on the car. They were not made of aluminum. So because of all this, NASCAR threw the whole damn book at Harvick. The whole thing got tossed at Harvick, and he will now not get the benefits of the win during the playoffs. That means he'll lose out on about 7 bonus points, and he will also lose 20 driver points. Stewart-Haas Racing is going to lose 20 owner points, and Rodney Childers was fined $50,000. That's the crew chief there. NASCAR is also suspending the car chief because of this penalty. Now, Stewart-Haas Racing can't appeal this, obviously, but as of now, as of the recording of this, they have yet to do so. And I don't know if they even will do so based on the findings of NASCAR. So did this give Kevin Harvick advantage? Well, that's the big question, isn't it? And it must, based on what I saw in Vegas. Dang, he won stage 2 5 seconds over Ryan Blaney. Based on what I saw, this must be giving him some type of advantage. Now, what would be interesting is to go back and look at pictures from the Atlanta race to see if the rear window was doing the same thing. But just the other day, Mike McAteer started showing me other pictures of cars. Austin Dillon, Kyle Busch from last year, and dang if the windows weren't doing the same thing. I saw a picture of Austin Dillon's car. I'm not sure what race it was in, but it was from last year, where the center of the window was bending. The center this time, not the right side of the window, but the center of it. Kyle Busch's car was also doing the same thing at a various race last year. So this has been going on for a while now. And it just looks like whatever this is that the teams are doing, NASCAR caught it at Las Vegas. But this week, NASCAR stays west, and they pull into ISM Speedway in Phoenix. And that also happens to be Kevin Harvick's favorite racetrack. And you know what? I believe he's going to win the race again. I believe he could win 3 in a row. In fact, he's my pick for the week. I know I'm being... I don't know. What's the word? Easy, cheap, picking someone like Kevin Harvick to win after he's won the last 2, but I think he can win Phoenix again, with or without a window support or aluminum materials that aren't aluminum for the side skirts of the car. I still think the Fords are still the best thing out there, right? And Harvick still has the best of the Fords. I don't think the rear window is going to matter that much. I think he can win the race again this week. Now look, when it comes to NASCAR has gotten a little cheesy, and they do frustrate me sometimes with their rule changes and the way the competition has gotten and the way NASCAR is now versus how it was a long time ago. They do frustrate me, but it still is the same for me that NASCAR is my favorite sport, and I think it's one of the greatest sports in the world, and I'll prove it. I don't know if there are any form of sports in America, maybe the world, where other competitors actually help one another financially compete in the sport that they are all competing in. But NASCAR isn't like most sports, is it? Because this week, Matt DiBenedetto, he reached out on social media for help. He needed help, and he went to social media for it. Go Fast Racing was without sponsorship for this week's race at Phoenix. So DiBenedetto, he went on social media, and he asked for pledges to help sponsor the car so that he could race, so that he could enjoy doing what he loves to do. He asked for help, and you know what? It worked. Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, and Darrell Waltrip all chipped in financially, along with fan support, to help get that car in the race this weekend. And I love that. I absolutely love that. And you just can't help but get emotional hearing that other drivers came together to actually support this driver, this single car team, in their dream to compete. And it just shows you how good the NASCAR community is. And that is something to be proud of. So this weekend, be sure to cheer for Matt DiBenedetto and Go Fast Racing this weekend at Phoenix. But did you happen to hear over the offseason that Jeff Gordon said he wanted Dale Jarrett to read his speech if he was inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame? If the day ever came that Jeff Gordon got inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame, he wanted Dale Jarrett to read his speech. Well, Dale Jarrett better get a pad and pen, because this week NASCAR announced the 2019 Hall of Fame drivers, and Jeff Gordon is right there among them. Also in the class was Handsome Harry Gant, an 18-time winner in the Cup Series, John Holman and Ralph Moody of the Holman-Moody partnership that won back-to-back championships with David Pearson in 1968 and 69, Kirk Shelmadine, a crew chief for a notable driver like Dale Earnhardt, I'm sure you've heard the name, and Ricky Rudd. And as a crew chief, he won 46 races in NASCAR. And then, of course, there was Jeff Gordon, who won 93 Cup races and 4 championships. Love him or hate him, he's clearly one of the best there is. So those are the 2019 Hall of Fame inductees. That's a pretty good class right there. And I have to see if Dale Jarrett keeps up that end of the bargain and reads the speech. I'm sure he will. But now let's turn our attention to Sebring, the next stop on the IMSA WeatherTech Championship calendar. Next weekend, of course, will be the 12 Hours of Sebring. This race will feature 39 drivers, including the most winningest driver at Sebring, Oliver Gavin. Gavin has won the race 6 times in his career, and that's the most of all active drivers. Second to him, though, in wins, is actually his teammate, Juan Magnussen. And both of those drivers drive for the most winningest active manufacturer at Sebring, drumroll please, Corvette. And they've won Sebring 11 times in the manufacturer's racing history. And if you think a Corvette is going to win, I think that's a good bet there, because I sure do think it's going to win. Jordan Taylor will be back in the defending number 10 Cadillac. That team won the race last year in the prototype class, but keep an eye on the number 22 Tequila Patron ESM Nissan. Keep an eye on that car, because they are the only car in the field that will be driven by 3 previous overall winners at Sebring. And that lineup features, listen to this, Van Overbeek, Nicolas Lapierre, and Pippo Durrani. All 3 of those guys will be in the number 22 in the prototype class, so keep an eye on that car. That car is going to be one to watch. Bill Oberlin, though, he has the experience going into the race, because the BMW driver will be making his 25th start at Sebring. He knows that track pretty well, I'm sure. But right now, as I think about the 12 Hours of Sebring, which is still just a week away, right now, I think the number 22 will take the overall win. That is my prediction. I do believe that number 22 Tequila Patron ESM Nissan with Van Overbeek, Nicolas Lapierre, and Pippo Durrani will take the win in the prototype class. That driver lineup is just too good not to count it out of the fight. But if that number 10 Cadillac can get over the reliability issue, that they had at Daytona, that could make for a good overall race between the number 22 and the number 10. I still believe, though, that the best racing on the track actually won't be in the prototype class. It'll be in the GTE. It will be between the Ford GT and Corvette, because Corvette, they always run well at Sebring. As I said before, they won 11 races. They got Oliver Gavin behind the wheel. They got Juan Magnussen back. They pretty much have the same driver lineup that they won with last year in the number 3 Corvette. But do you remember Daytona this year? That Ford GT was so quick, they took the lead away from the Corvette on basically the first lap, and for 24 straight hours, the two Ford GTs held it. They stood at the top step of the podium. So going into Sebring, they might carry that power over there. So I think out of the racing that's going to happen on the track, that top battle between Corvette and Ford GT, I think that's going to be the best race on the track. And if you're not surprised by that, you might be surprised by this. Were you surprised at all when you looked at the testing today? Were you surprised to see that Haas was actually second in the testing? Again, I was. I saw a quick headline about Sebastian Vettel being at the top of the charts, and it didn't catch me all that surprised because, Ferrari is quick, and they had been quick, and I thought, well, that makes sense. But when I opened up the results to look where everybody else was and saw that Haas was only within a second to the Ferrari, damn, I was pleasantly surprised. I actually was. I said, damn. The team principal at Haas believes that the secret to their pace came from a better understanding of the tires. And he felt that that was something they struggled with in the past, and he feels that they have improved on that, and they have a better understanding of the different compounds. Haas also said over the offseason that to be successful this year, he wanted to be within 1 second of Ferrari. Well, there he was. But whatever they're doing, it's sticking because Romain Grosjean was only 1.2 seconds behind Kimi Räikkönen this afternoon. So will Haas score points this year? I sure hope so. Do you remember when they first got started? Their first year, they started out really, really strong. They scored points in the first couple of races, had a really good Australian Grand Prix. And those first couple of races of the season, they went out there and they scored some points. But as the season went on, they fizzled out a bit. And last year they were just awful. But it looks like things could turn around here in 2018. But let's be real, historically, you don't want to read too much into the testing times. Because by the time the Formula One season gets started, you find that the testing really didn't matter. It's just what happens. But hey, it's only a few weeks away until the Formula One gets going down in Australia, and I'm ready to watch the Formula One racing. I'm ready to watch it. I miss it. But this weekend there will be plenty of racing to watch on the TV. Not only will NASCAR be out west in Phoenix, the Verizon IndyCar Series will have their first race of the year at St. Petersburg. The challenging street circuit will get their season kicked off this weekend as well. That's on Sunday. But that's your pit stop for the week. I'm Justin with NRN, the No Bull Racing Network. You can follow NRN on social media. We've got the Facebook, we've got the Twitter, and we've got the Instagram. So be sure to follow us there for all things racing. See you guys this weekend after the race. Stay safe, enjoy the racing, and take it easy.